A very good morning to all the students of class 12th political science to the online classes here. Students, today we shall take the revision of our first chapter, that is the Cold War era, and we shall be mostly including all the topics which have been given in the revised syllabus by the CBSE. All the PDFs I had already sent you. Please go through them and read accordingly. And as you are having your exam from 23rd, so we are now left with two classes, and in these two classes I shall try and finish your revision of chapter number 1 and chapter number 2. But remember, your chapter number 2 also includes some of the important topics of chapter number 3. Although chapter number 3 has been deleted from its syllabus, that is US hegemony, it's deleted, but some of its important topics are merged with chapter 2. So for unit test you need to revise both chapter 1 and chapter 2 along with some of the important topics of chapter 3. So today I shall finish the revision of chapter 1, as there are few topics already deleted. So as I told you, it's written as a pencil. When I taught you, it's the same content I'm having. I'm revising you with it. Also, you read your help books. Also, there are a lot of questions related to these topics. Those questions have been given on different bases, so you just need to focus on those type of questions, as you must have read about Cuban Missile Crisis or the non-alignment movement. But there will not be the direct questions that what do you understand by non-alignment movement. The question can be like that: what was the role and importance of India in the non-alignment movement? And such type can be the questions. Indirect questions will be there mostly. I will try, and I have tried that I will give you simple questions for your first unit, because this is your first unit and I want you to get good marks, and hopefully you have done the revision, already started it. So I'm starting here. First of all, as I told you, the meaning of contemporary world politics. So this is a part 1 of your syllabus, contemporary world politics. Before I starting the chapter, that is Cold War era, I told you the meaning of your book contemporary world politics. So what is the meaning of contemporary? Because we will be studying this term a lot in this book, so you should know the meaning of contemporary. It means modern period, time occurring, modern period or time or occurring in the present, and events or activities taking part in the present scenario, present time. It comes under contemporary politics. Any events, any politics, any activities taking around the world, taking part, it is called contemporary. And what is this present, which is a fixed time period? We can say this is a present. That is, I will tell you. Before that, I should tell you the meaning of politics. Generally struggle for power or to gain authority. Politics, you know, anyone, generally there is a struggle to gain power or authority. It is called politics. So in terms of contemporary, the meaning of contemporary is a modern time period or events occurring in the present time. So what is that present time? The time period after the end of Cold War. The Cold War had started in 1945 and lasted till 1991, when USSR disintegrated. So after 1991, all the politics around the world, it is called contemporary world politics. So events taking part in after 1991 are called contemporary. So this is the meaning. So also in this particular chapter, that is the Cold War, you will need to require few dates. That is World War I. This will not be a part of this book, but still you must know the date of First World War. That was 28 July 1914 to 11 November 1918. So date is 1914 to 1918. And this would be an area of study in this particular chapter. World War II. 1st September. It started in 1939 and it lasted up to 2nd September 1945. So from 1939 till 1945, this period or this gap was called Second World War. And after Second World War, that is 1945, the time period was called the Cold War era till 1991. And after 1991, I am telling you, this time period is called contemporary world politics. I have written a small note here how the Second World War came to be. And US dropped bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in diplomatic manner. And what was the diplomatic manner? Causing Japan to surrender. And those two bombs were Little Boy, which was dropped on Hiroshima, and Fat Man, which was dropped on Nagasaki. These are the two places in Japan. Okay. So the word, it's written diplomatic, Why it's written diplomatic? There were various reasons and various reasons given for the dropping of this atom bomb on Japan, because by the critics it was said that it was meaningless to drop such a atom bomb on Japan, as Japan had already surrendered, and once Japan had surrendered, there was no need to drop bombs. But America had there some other reasons, particularly so to prove themselves that there was a need to drop atom bombs to finish the Second World War quickly, to avoid more loss of life and property of Americans. So moving forward to this chapter. So chapter 1, the Cold War era. Meaning of Cold War. So first of all, you must know the meaning of Cold War. The Cold War is referred to the competition, tension, remember these words, there is a competition, tensions, or series of confrontations between US and USSR backed by their respective allies. So what do we mean by Cold War? Whenever there is a environment of conflicts, tensions, or a series of confrontation between any two rival people, we can say, or countries or nations or allies, it is called Cold War. It does not escalate into a full-fledged violent war or a hot war, but it remains as a Cold War because there is no real physical war between the two countries or the two nations. And what do we mean by USSR? Its full form is the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic. We also call it Soviet Union. So before I move forward to this chapter, I would like to give you a short picture of World War II. Who were the participants in the Second World War, what were the two type of groups, and what activities were undertaken. So World War II date I have already told you, 1939 to 1945. In this, the world was divided into two groups. The first group was called Allied Forces and second was called Axis Power. So which were the countries under Allied Forces? This group was having USA, USSR. USSR means Russia plus 14 countries. It means these 15 countries all included USSR. France, Britain. So USSR, USA, France, Britain together made up Allied Forces. On the other hand, another rival group was Axis Forces, in which Germany, Hitler was the main volunteer of Germany, Italy and Japan. This was a group formed Axis Power. So I would now read some of the events which happened during the Second World War. USA did not want to be involved in the Second World War, but Japan attacked the Pearl Harbor in 1941. This led to the formal entry of US into World War II. So we can say in the beginning USA was not interested to be a part of Second World War, but what happened? Japan, as a part of Axis forces, attacked on USA, where on Pearl Harbor on 1941. So because Japan attacked on USA, so this made a formal entry. This is a very good word, formal entry of US into the World War II. So USA joined this particular group, Allied Forces, in after the attack of 1941. So now USSR was friend of Germany, but Hitler attacked on USSR also. So USSR joined the Allied forces against Germany. Now what happened? USSR was also not interested to take part in this Second World War against Germany, and USSR was a friend of Germany, that is Hitler. But Hitler attacked on USSR to gain more, as we know, Hitler wanted to conquer the world, gain all the political, social, economic power, and wanted to show his dominance in the world politics. So Germany again attacked on USSR. So USSR was forced and provoked, we can say. So it was provoked and it joined the Allied forces against Germany now. So US and USSR made their formal entry after the provocation. Japan provoked USA to join the Second World War, and Germany here provoked USSR to join the Second World War. Otherwise, in the beginning, they were not the part of this Second World War. Because from the very beginning, France and Britain were in the direct war from 1939 with Germany, direct war with Germany, as these were the countries of Europe. It's written here. 1945 was the year when US dropped bombs on Japan. I have explained you this. And why the US dropped the bombs on Japan? They wanted to show their supremacy around the world. They wanted to show that by the end of the Second World War, around the whole world at a global level, US was the most superpower and it wanted to dominate the whole world politics. Germany was attacked together by France, Britain, and USSR. So what happened? Germany in the Second World War, this was trapped properly by USSR, USA, France, Britain, and together they were defeated. Hitler was defeated by all these three together. France and Britain were involved in direct war against Germany, and Italy exhausted their resources during the war. So the question arises, why after the Second World War, when the Allied forces has won the Second World War, USA and USSR became two superpowers, but France and Britain disappeared from this scene. Why? Because France and Britain has been involved in the direct war against Germany and Italy since 1939, from the very beginning. So they had exhausted all their economic resources, because of which they faced lot of problems after the Second World War to renew and revolve their economy once again. So after the Second World War, there were two superpowers, USA and USSR, emerged as the most superpower groups after the Second World War around the world. And here is one important point to remember. This Cold War was not simply a matter of power rivalries. If we can say, we cannot say there was only the war between the two superpowers, that is US and USSR, to gain political power only, or the military alliance to show there that their military was powerful. But it was also a war for balance of power. It was accompanied by a real ideological conflict. So we can say there was a real ideological conflict. What do we know ideological? Vichardhara. Both the allies, or we can say both the superpowers, that is the US and USSR, followed different ideologies. I would discuss this. What do we understand by ideologies? But before this, you have to understand Cold War was not only for the power rivalries of military alliances or balance of power, or which one had the more power, but it was about the ideological conflicts as well. Western Alliance, this is US, and Eastern Alliance is Soviet Union or USSR. So Western Alliance, that is US, or the alliances which were, or the countries which were the partners of US, they made an alliance, a group, and this group was called Western Alliance, as US was the head, led by US. So Western Alliance was led by US, and all the countries which were in this alliance, they followed capitalism. What do we mean by capitalism? It is the private ownership. Okay, so everyone can have their property business. So there are a lot of freedom of speech and fundamental rights. Okay, there is no control on the property by the state. But Eastern Alliance, which was led by USSR, okay, in this group, the countries which were having under Eastern Alliance, they followed communalism or socialism. We can say this is socialism. In this, all the resources are controlled by the state in all the sectors. So there is a state control, here is the private ownership. So this was the difference between the two ideologies. So the countries which were under the allies of US followed capitalism, and countries under USSR or followed communalism or socialism. So the one of the most important topic of this chapter, I would say, is the Cuban Missile Crisis. If we are studying Cold War, this is one of the important we can say incident which started, or we can say it was the start of Cold War. So Cuban Missile Crisis, and the date is 1962. Remember date in April. So it's about Cuba. Cuban Missile Crisis. Cuba is a small island country. You can see here. This is USA. I've shown you the map. It's a rough map. If this is suppose USA, this is USSR, and very close to USA is a small island country, and its name is Cuba. So it's all about Cuba. That's why the name of the topic is Cuban Missile Crisis. This took part in 1962. Cuba was an ally of the, as I told you the meaning of ally previously also, ally means a partner who supports a particular we can say alliance or any ideology. So Cuba supported the ideology of USSR. Although if we geographically if we see, Cuba was very close to USA. But if we see, it followed the ideology of USSR. So Cuba was a partner and a friend of USSR, although it was very close to USA. So Cuba was an ally of Soviet Union and got both diplomatic and financial aid from it. So financial as well as diplomatic, economic, social, all the benefits and support it got from USSR or Soviet Union. So I have taken few details here. At this, when this incident took place and this particular event had happened in 1962, these were the leaders. USA president was John F. Kennedy, and the leader of USSR or the Soviet Union was, their leader was Nikita Khrushchev. Okay, here, as I told you, USA and its allies, the countries supporting US, they had followed the ideology of capitalism. Capitalism means they had liberal democracy, they had capitalism, that is open market, private ownership. On the other hand, Soviet Union, and its leader was Nikita Khrushchev, they followed the ideology of communalism or socialism, as I told you. That is state controlled resources. There was no democracy, there was no capitalism, there were closed market, and all the resources were controlled by the government. So what happened? And this was a small Cuba, this is island country. They also followed communalism, and their president of Cuba was Fidel Castro. Military base. So here what happened, USSR or the Soviet Union wanted to make Cuba their military base. It's written, I have written few points. What was the incident? What was the conflict here now? Nikita Khrushchev, as the leader of Soviet Union, the leader of the Soviet Union decided to convert Cuba into a Russian base. So the Soviet Union wanted Cuba to be converted into a military base, or to place Russian base or the military base. So what happened in 1962, that is Nikita Khrushchev, placed nuclear missiles in Cuba. So from here, nuclear missiles were brought by the ships, and the nuclear missiles were placed in Cuba. So installation of these weapons put the US for the first time under the fire for the close range. So as the installation of the missiles, because of these installations of these weapons, nuclear missiles put US under pressure for the first time, as it was very close to USA. So if Soviet Union wanted, it could launch these nuclear missiles from Cuba to US. There would have been lot of destruction of life and property of US, and there would have been complete destruction of US from the very close range. So because of this conflict between Soviet Union and US, there was a Cuban Missile Crisis. Although after the installation of these nuclear missiles, the president of US came to know about this event taking place. Here, John F. Kennedy sends its military, and it intercepts or stopped all the military or the ships coming towards Cuba. So they were intercepted and sent back to USSR. So this was the case where people thought that the Third World War would take place, would start there, the cold, but here the things were settled down and the ships were sent back to Soviet Union. So the next important topic is the emergence of two power blocks. So what were the two power blocks? You can understand, after the World War, when the World War II was over, the world was left with two superpowers, and those two superpowers were US and USSR. So that's why they were the emergence of two superpowers or two power blocks, different groups. So as I told you, they had the different ideologies they followed. US followed the ideology of capitalism. On the other hand, USSR followed the ideology of communalism, or we can say socialism. Here is written, USA had alliance. Alliance means groups or partner, the countries supporting US. They made we can say NATO. This was the power blocks, we can say. North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Then they made Southeastern Asian Treaty Organization and CENTO. Okay, so these were the, we can say, these were the military alliance to protect the allies of a particular country, that is US or USSR. So in support of that, to give a response to NATO or CETO or CENTO, USSR made Warsaw Pact. Okay, so this was a military alliance. to defend against these alliances of US. In this, we are showing that why superpowers had allies and why allies supported these superpowers. There were all in the world politics, no one is happy to help other without any personal motive. So there were always some personal motive or gains of superpowers as well as their allies from one another. So see, the superpowers required smaller states as allies to gain access to vital resource. So these superpowers, US or Soviet Union, needed small states to gain access to. They needed some vital resources, territory to launch weapons and troops, or to spy on each other, and economic support. So these were the reasons why superpowers had small allies in their group. Okay, as for example, we have seen Cuba. Soviet Union supported or showed diplomatic support to Cuba in terms of, we read about economy as well as social and moral support to Cuba. In the same way, we are saying USA had the allies of US were France, Britain, Pakistan, Norway, West Germany. So these small countries had some personal motives to support USA. In the same way, USA had some personal motive to support and include these alliances within it. In the same way, USSR had East Germany, Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary, and some more. So what was the benefits? Benefits of allies. So what were the benefits of small states being a partner of these superpowers? They got protection, first of all, military equipments, the more latest technology equipments for their military, and economic needs. So these were some of the important help they got from the big superpowers. On the other hand, these were the, we can say, motives why superpower included these small scales in their alliances. They got location, like Cuba we saw, Soviet Union got a location to launch missiles or nuclear missiles on US to spy. Okay, resources, they get resources from these small states, as geographically locations are very much different. In some places oil is there, or natural resources like iron, steel, etc. Or to gain economic gains when there is a economic we can say crisis in a superpower as well. So this was the structure of the global world politics after the Second World War. That is, world was divided into two parts, that is US and USSR. It was called Western Alliance, as it was in the, if you see the map, it was in the western direction, and all the countries supporting US were from the western side, and the USSR was called Eastern Alliance, as the eastern countries supported USSR. So but now we are starting the topic, challenges to bipolarity. Bipolarity means powers was world power was shared by two superpowers, US and USSR, but there was a challenge to these two superpowers. And what was the challenge? Bipolarity after Second World War, as I told you. And the challenge was non-aligned movement. In short, we call it NAM. So NAM was a challenge to bipolarity, because most of the countries has joined either alliance of US or the alliance of USSR. But now with the coming of non-alignment movement, these countries around the world got the third option to join non-alignment movement. So we are going to try and understand what do we mean by non-aligned movement and why it was so beneficial for some of the developing countries or the underdeveloped countries or newly decolonized countries around the world. So it's written here very much clearly. NAM provided the newly decolonized countries of Asia, Africa, Latin America a third option. So newly decolonized countries who got the freedom from the British rule or from France, they got the third option, and their third option was not to join the either alliances. They will not join US, they will not join USSR, but they had a third option, and their third option was non-aligned movement. So this non-aligned movement, there were 5 founding members who made this particular group or organization, which is called non-aligned movement. Okay, so we'll understand that what do we mean by non-aligned movement. First of all, let's see who were the founding members. 5 countries were included in it: Yugoslavia, India, Egypt, Indonesia, Ghana. You have to remember all the 5 names along with their leader also. Who was the leader? Of Yugoslavia, Josip Broz Tito. From India, Jawaharlal Nehru. From Egypt, Gamal Abdel Nasser. From Indonesia, Sukarno. From Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah. So these were the 5 important personalities who were the 5 founding members of NAM. So it was very important. So we should see the first non-alignment movement or the summit was, so first meeting of this organization, which was the third option, not to join US and USSR and join non-alignment movement. It was held in Belgrade in 1961. You have to remember, it can be a question for 1 mark also. When was the first non-alignment summit held and where? It was held in Belgrade in 1961. And in this topic you will read a term, neutrality or isolation. This non-alignment movement gave the third option to the many countries or developing countries or underdeveloped countries or newly independent countries. But this does not mean that it was a neutrality or isolation from the world, or that they were not interested and they were not actively participating in the world politics. In fact, the countries under non-alignment movement, they tried to solve the problems between the rival countries and to decrease the impact of the war between the two superpowers. The neutrality, it's written, refers to a policy of staying out of war. The meaning of neutrality would be we are completely out of war. But NAM, including India, worked to prevent war. NAM also included India. So all the members of NAM, they always worked to prevent war. They always wanted to prevent war, maintain peace and decorum in the world, bring economic, social, political development around the world. They wanted to prevent war, rivalries, tension, conflicts between the superpowers. They always wanted that there should be no hot war between US and USSR. So they showed the third option, that was non-alignment movement, although they always worked to prevent war, rivalries, tension and conflict between the superpowers. And these were the 5 members of non-alignment movement.